Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome along to the Israel iRacing League. We're here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway on the famous Roval, although this layout technically not referred to as the Roval. It is going to be yet another fantastic race, second round of the season, and it looks like pretty nice temperatures for racing, 27 degrees, which is pretty much as nice as you can expect on this simulator. We're live across Apex Racing TV and on the Israel iRacing League YouTube channel as well, so welcome along. I am Tom Dillon, and alongside me for this broadcast, as he is every week and will be till the end of the season, is Ron Morns. Ron, welcome to the stream. We're riding on board at the moment with one of our Toyota cars. Last week was a fantastic event, and this track lends itself to some fairly nice racing.
Oh yeah, last week was absolutely brilliant. We had the equal cars coming across the line. That was a brilliant finish. To cap off really a brilliant night of racing, we had fantastic racing across both heats. A lot of drama, we had some incidents here and there, but something we saw a lot of even at Road Atlanta, which doesn't have a lot of straight lines unless, well, discounting the giant back straightaway, it doesn't have a lot of straight line, but here you have a lot of fast sections, and I think that will lend very well with how powerful the slipstream is in this series. We saw that at Road Atlanta, where cars would be going 4 wide going into the chicane, which is just absolutely ridiculous. We had our jaws on the floor watching these drivers compete 2 weeks ago. I think it's going to be the same tonight. We have a lot of interesting racing ahead of us today.
And only the 2 laps, remember, in qualifying for the drivers to get it right. So by my reckoning, that is Reem Gross out of the session with his 119.5, the benchmark to beat. This is Michael Simon going across the line. He's going to jump up into 3rd in his MX5 class. Looks like we had a car stopped. But looking back at Yossi Gabe, 17 car, he's going across the line, I believe, to set his first lap of the day. I don't see him on our timing tower at the moment. Here he goes. And before the end of quali, actually, I should mention, we're going to have a look at our championship standings. Ron, I think it makes sense. I'll go through the Toyotas and you can go through the MX-5. So here are the Toyotas, the pro standings as they're officially called. Reem Gross is in the lead with his victory last time out, 26. Alon Day in second on 18, tied with Michael Sherling, who's in third. Then it's Yossi Kabay, Nadav Yaron and Arnon Levy, the other drivers, with behind them Amir Meshalam, Tal Stern, Shiran Kana, Arthur Elbert, Daniel Lerman, Chijon Baba and Reuven Chacha. The rest of the grid. Ron, MX5's got a few more people in them.
Looking at the MX5 championship standings at the moment, in amateur class, we have Galad Heskia in the first position right now in the championship standings with Mark Zubarev in second. We have Yovel Marak, I apologize for that, in third. We have Ben Yosef in fourth. He was involved in that fantastic side-by-side equal finish in Heat 1, so we'll see a lot of him this season. We have Boyacek in fifth. We have Last in sixth. He's definitely not in last. He's in the sixth position in the championship standings at the moment. Amir Hased is in seventh. We have Aviad Markarv, I apologize if I'm butchering these pronunciations. Trust me, I am trying my best. In 8th, we have Offer Mazuz. In 9th, we have Galili in 10th. He had a very dramatic weekend last time out. We have Shirkov in 11th. We have Shur in 12th. Ventura is in 13th. Michael Simon in 14th. Alfir Zanu in 15th, and Asaf Yaron completing your field. A lot of drivers haven't scored yet. A lot of drivers have scored, but hopefully we can have some new runners up at the front. I'm sure we'll have the same runners that we had up at the front last time, and I think we're going to have a fantastic race tonight.
And yes, I believe as well all drivers have crossed the line. It's a quiet racetrack out there at the Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval. Yossi Kabay is the only driver out on the circuit, and he is stationary at the moment. So that is that for qualifying. You can see the results on the left-hand side of your screen. Gives us 2.5 minutes to just have a bit of a chat about the series, Rod. And fantastic race last time out, as I mentioned earlier. I personally think it's unique that we've got MX-5s and Toyotas inside of a multi-class series, but it's interesting enough that the two categories seem relatively close together, so that's creating a very nice dynamic.
Yeah, that's the real interesting part. These cars, they punch a massive hole in the air, so the slipstream effect is going to be a massive, really just gigantic factor in this race tonight. When they come out of the infield and go onto those high banks here at Charlotte, that's going to play a massive effect, so we're going to see a lot of field shuffling. But with these cars, they're pretty much equal in terms of pace. It's really just the drivers battling at. So what we saw last week is we saw towards the midfield, we saw the Toyotas and the Mazdas battling, which for a multi-class series, you don't really see the different classes really intermingling, but we have seen that this year, and it really is a big effect in these races, and it just produces some fantastic, awesome racing. Here at this track, as I said, the slipstream is going to play a big effect because, if I'm being brutally honest, this track doesn't really promote a lot of overtaking. Sure, you do have that very heavy braking zone going into turn 1, but coming out of turn 1, you have that really hard wall to try and protect the giant scoring pylon, which isn't there in real life. They've moved it, so now on the actual track, it's still a pretty hard wall to greet you if you mess it up going through turn 1, but here especially, you just hit basically a head-on wall. So it'll be difficult to see if we see any passing into turn 1, but I think with those giant high banks and how powerful the slipstream plays an effect into these races, it's going to produce some fantastic racing, and I'm looking forward to it.
It's interesting, actually, that you say the track doesn't produce, will lend itself nicely to overtakes. So I haven't watched a great deal of racing at Charlotte Motor Speedway. I've seen on boards and things from the NASCAR Roval, because obviously it's a relatively famous track now. It's a bit of a gimmick being called the Roval, but I would have thought that a track where you've got 4, technically speaking, oval turns, you've got turn 10, 11, 12, and 13, I would have thought plenty of opportunity to slipstream, but obviously maybe the track not lending itself perhaps as nicely as we'd expected to that. The checker flag is out in our qualifying session. That is 10 minutes gone, and we will get straight away over to the grid for our first of 2 races. Here is your grid then. I'll take you through the first page. Reem Gross on pole position, Daniel Lerman alongside him, then it's Arnon Levy in third. Arthur Elbert rounds out the second row. Your third row is Shirin Kaina and Amir Meshulam with Navad Yaron, and your pole sitter in the MX-5s, Dmitry Shukrov, making up row 4. 9 and 10 is Joval Marek and Tel Stern with Michael Simon and Mark Zubarev rounding out our first page.
And looking through the rest of the field, we have Aiden Shear in 13th. He is mid-pack of the Mazdas. We have Dior Last in 14th. We have Bocek in 15th. We have SF Yaron in 16th. Yossi Gabe, one of the lower Toyota cars. He is in 17th. We have Yarmakuv. I'm really sorry. If you're watching this in post, I apologize for the butchered pronunciations, in 18th. And then we have Alfred Mazuz in 19th, and then Alan Day, your last place starter, in 20th, the last of the Toyotas. So we have a mixed up grid. I think it's going to lead to some fast and fantastic racing. I might be being that dead horse in this broadcast, but it's honestly the case. These cars drive fantastic, and these drivers race each other amazingly. It's good, clean, hard racing, and it lends itself to some fantastic action.
It'll be interesting to see Alon Day, won't it, as how he is able to carve his way through the field. Just waiting to see what goes on with these cars in a few moments' time.
Kind of scared to mention Alan Day, to be brutally honest, because every time I've commentated this series and I've mentioned Alan Day as one of my picks to win, he's always been struck by a falling anvil, either in Heat 1 or Heat 2, so I mean, he's always fast in this series, but I'm not going to say anything more out of fear of jinxing him.
Here we go then, round 2 of the iRacing Israel League about to get underway, and we go to 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go, and it's a very poor start at the back as one of the MX-5s is able to get the jump as we go down into turn 1. It's a very, very awkward, nervy start indeed, but Reem Gross is able to hold on to the lead of the race. Everyone else filtering on through as we've got a spinner at the back. We've got 2 spinners at the back. And I dare say that might be Alon Day. I'm not too sure. I don't think so, actually. I think it was Yossi Gabe. He's managed to go around. So Alon Day is continuing to circulate. It was Yossi Gabe who got caught up. Reem Gross, though, pulled out a nice 7/10 of a second advantage off of the start on Daniel Lerman, just behind him, and further down the order in your Mazda MX-5 classification. Dmitry Shukrov is in the lead still. That is a spin just in front of our MX-5 leader, who is under pressure, and it's Shirin Kaina who gets spat out straight across the racetrack, but thankfully Ron is out of harm's way.
And that could have been a very hair-raising moment there. This track, they have called it basically a street course, it feels like, in real life. And obviously, with this version where you don't have any asphalt runoff, it's just dead grass for the most part. You really have nowhere to run if there's a car going off ahead of you. Drivers racing really hard. We've seen some incidents so far, but so far very clean. We're seeing Dmitry Shirkov there. He might be getting overtaken here by the Toyota. He's looking down the inside. They might be going 3 wide coming into turn 1. As I said in the pre-race jibber jabber I was giving, was a bit of an interesting corner for me. You see that wall sticking out quite badly there. That's always been a trouble spot, me personally, driving around this track. So no one's hit yet so far. Actually, I say that I believe Gabe actually tapped that wall slightly in his lap 1 turn 1 incident, but so far everyone's got through clean.
Alon Day making fine progress, already up into 7th spot in your Toyota classification. Reem Gross not quite able to continue on the form. They've pulled out a nice gap to Levy behind these two, but now Lerman is going to start to think about overtaking for the lead of this 20-minute feature race, and we'll see if the slipstream is in fact proving to be as powerful as we expect in these Toyotas. This is perhaps case in point here, as Meshulam is trying to go for a move on Arthur Elbert, sorry, is trying to go for a move on Levy for 3rd position. Here he goes down the inside in the 47 car, and I think he should just about make that pass work. It's out of the slipstream. He's now punching the air, but so is the car on the outside. This is the battle for the lead. Lerman will maybe look to the inside into the very, very tight turn 1. I don't think he will. He's not quite able to pull alongside. Heavy braking zone, getting the car stops nicely, and it is the fastest lap of the race for Daniel Lerman.
I mean, if you were running in second at this point, as much as you do want to lead laps and just brag about being up at the front of this series, as we see a very close moment there with Zubarev looking for a move there, but doesn't pull it off on Alan Day. As much as you do want to have bragging rights saying that you led an iRacing Israel League race, I think at this point, with so many laps to go, as we see Day went off there, did a bit of lawn mowing coming out of turn 4. Oh, very close there with Zubarev. He looked for a move going into turn 5, but just not really a place to overtake. On this infield, really, it's very tight through there. But getting back to the point I was going to make, it's as much as you do want to lead, at this point in the race, very early on, and with just so much left to play in this race, I think it might just be the smart move to hold back, just be in the slipstream. Actually, as I say that, these two are going side by side, so you can just throw everything I said out the window. Very close there with Gross and Lerman. It looks like Lerman, he's going to have the run around the outside, and he completes the move there. On Gross, he takes the lead on lap 3 of this race, as we see some more battling here up at the front of the MX-5 field. We've got 3 MX-5s basically in a small little peloton here that are shuffling for position here. There's some Toyotas up front shuffling for position as well. We saw just a glimpse of that. That's Levy, Mechelem, and Elbert battling for position going through the first series of corners. Everyone gets through clean, and right now it's pretty much no real change of position so far. We saw Mechelem go off a little bit there, but he manages to keep it clean.
On Levy, trying to make a move on Mechelem just ahead of him. Not quite able to find a way through just yet, as we see this infield section is pretty much a processional affair. It's where you make up most of your lap time, but not where you do most of your overtaking. That is a dive up the inside of the 482 of Asav Yaron. It's not quite able to find the position for P5 on last, but definitely lets him know that he is there. There is still, I should mention, a little bit of Toyota traffic trying to make its way through this, as we see the battle for third position once again. Levy on the inside line, gunning for that spot, and he's going to get that spot. Clears the car before they even get close to the braking zone down into turn 1. Simon has got past Marek into second position in your MX-5 classification. That is just at the top of your picture. Here's the counter-attack then from Amir. Mechelem looks to the outside line, cut off and not quite able to find a way through down into turn 1. Credit, by the way, to Shurkov, who is in first position in the MX-5s. He's done a 119.9 across the line. That is the fastest lap for the MX-5s so far in this race, and he is miraculously keeping pace with the Toyotas that, by most accounts, are a few tenths of a second a lap faster than our MX-5s.
He's putting in a very good drive so far. It helps that the drivers ahead of him are battling as hard as they are. We've seen in this series how just battling even for like a couple of corners can lead you to lose quite a few tenths of a second on the cars ahead. And we're seeing this here as these cars battle. The front two of Lerman and Gross are really just pulling ahead, as we see Yaron go off there. That is in the infield section. I believe that was in the small little stretch between turn 6 and 7 there. He manages to get it back rolling, but certainly a tough break for him.
Well, he's making fairly decent progress as they went through, but not quite able to do so. This is going to be a 3-wide moment here for the third position in the race. It's Mechelem, Levy and Elbert. Elbert, I think, is going to go through and make the double pass slightly outside of track limits, but I think he'll get away with it. Here they go down into turn 1. Still in the background is our MX-5 leader, but they'll try and continue to battle. The counter-attack comes from Levy on the outside line. He's going to swoop around and get third position back. It is a fantastic swoop move as Mechelem now goes down the inside, and Elbert, all of his hard work turns out to be for nothing. Gains 2 positions, then loses 2 positions in the space of a corner. We're looking at Michael Simon, who is slightly wide. He's got a bit of damage on the right-hand side of that Mazda MX-5, the 999 car, and has lost out to Yaron. Zubarev is a little bit up the road at the top of your picture. You can see there the 30 car. And that will be, I'm sure, who they're trying to chase after. But a little bit of damage on the side of that MX-5.
I gotta imagine Simon hit the wall coming out of turn 1. Obviously, I've mentioned like 5 times in this broadcast already how that wall is pretty treacherous, if I'm being brutally honest. I've hit it many times in my iRacing career, to be brutally honest with you. We saw a big moment there from Yaron, I believe that was. I could be mistaken there. That was... I am not sure what that car was. I believe that was Yaron, in fact. did a bit of a Tokyo Drift cosplay going through turn 6 and 7. That was a very hair-raising moment for him, but he manages to keep it on the road, and he's still in the top 10. I believe he's in the top, actually, I believe he is still in the top 10 or just near the top 10 overall, and certainly in the fight here in the MX-5 category. But right now, some very clean racing. Michael Simon, even with that damage that he probably picked up going through turn 1, he is still very competitive. It's not... Sometimes with cars in iRacing, if you just pick up a little bit of damage, it'll be like you're dragging a parachute going down the straightaway. But as we're seeing here, it's not that case. Oh, we're seeing contact there. There's a big crash there. That's Connor involved, and I believe that was Yaron and Connor that were involved in that crash. Tough break for those drivers, and yeah, Connor on it back to the pits. He is done for. That was a very hard crash going into the inside concrete barrier. That is their Heat 1 over.
And, well, we just had another three-ride moment between these three, Levy, Elbert and Meshalam. In the end, it's Levy who is able to get the better of it all, up in third position. Elbert and Meshalam still trailing in his wake, though. Here they go. As we were watching the crazy MX-5 battle, we're going to get our crazy Toyota battle on the outside line. Is Meshalam trying to go through the two of them again? Elbert is ducked to the inside. I believe, I'm not quite sure which one iRacing is classing as directly ahead. It's so close, they're practically neck and neck, and that is the benefit of the bump draft on the inside. You can see the 777 just falls out of the way ever so slightly. Arnon Levy down the inside is going to try and defend that inside. Now he switches back to the top to sort of stave off the swoop. Meshalam gets himself into second and hits the wall on driver's right. There's a battle for the lead in the MX-5s, though. I can see as Day has gone through. That gives Shirkov a bit of defending to do ahead of Marek, who has held onto his tail fairly nicely, actually. Alan Day goes back into the MX-5s, and all there is Michael Simon into the wall that you, Ron, said was going to be an issue this race. Turns out it's been a pretty major issue in this race.
We saw Michael Simon hit the wall a couple laps ago. He hit the same wall this past lap, so he is definitely out of this race. And we saw Meshlem hit the wall slightly, just trying to carry a lot of speed going through turn 1. I mentioned a couple laps ago how these drivers battling is going to cost them dearly when it comes to trying to battle for the lead. They're obviously battling for the final podium position, but they were like 4 seconds away from the front two runners. Now they're about 8, nearly 9 seconds off of them. So these drivers battling, it's just causing an almighty amount of chaos behind them. We saw Day, he's now very close to being involved in this fight, as we're seeing Meshlem and Elbert going side by side, and it might be a 3-wide battle as we go into the tri-oval here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's going to be real interesting into the braking zone of turn 1. Elbert stays behind Levy. Levy goes to block Meshlem on the outside, and now Elbert, it looks like he could have gone for the inside there if he was really late on the brakes, but he isn't. He is actually going side by side with Levy. This is very close. Basically, there's 6 cars battling. Day gets by Meshlem going through turn 1.
Oh, Day might go through another one as well.
Yeah, he is going through another one from the looks of it. He's looking very feisty at the moment, trying to get the move done on Albert. I mean, right now we're over halfway through this race. I wouldn't say with 9 minutes left to go in a race that you have to be overly, I wouldn't say impatient is the right word, just overly racy. But at this point in the race, you do want to try and fight for every position because, I mean, with the MX-5s closing up, overall positions are still very important in this series. And if these drivers keep battling, it's just going to hold everyone up behind them.
A number 1 car then, looking for a podium after starting in 20th position overall. Simon has come into the pits. I don't know whether he'll call it today for this first of our 2 races, but we'll wait and see whether he does indeed decide to re-emerge. But this is the battle we're all keeping an eye on. Elbert is on the inside line. Alan Day looks to go high. He's going to go high and a chance to gun for a podium position all the way from the back of the field. It's still the 47 trying to bump draft Levy as they go down into turn 1. Alan Day, he's raced NASCARs before. He knows how to do this, and he goes all the way around the outside into 3rd position. Alan Day with one of the most special moves of the day, up into 3rd position. Elbert is going to get past Levy, so that's at least a little bit of food for thought for him. Marek is able to get past Shirkov for the lead of the MX-5 race, but it is all happening at the Roval as there is almost a spin for Elbert. It's side by side. between 4 cars further back as Shirkov looks for the lead of the MX-5s once again. He's going to get the lead of the MX-5s, and looking at Mesha Lam trying to get past Levy once again, who was occupying that podium position for the majority of this race. Meanwhile, Alon Day has absolutely gone. So just to reiterate, because it's been a pretty fast-paced sort of 45 seconds or so, it was, forget that, we've got to change for the lead. It's Lerman looking for the inside line on Gross, who has led so much of this race so far, and down the inside goes Daniel Lerman. I think he's going to get to the lead of the race and stay in the lead of the race. So in fact, I think this is an attack from Gross, who's trying to get the lead of the race himself. Here he goes around the outside. It's a defense from Lerman.
They managed to get through cleanly. That was an absolutely fantastic 45 seconds there, and it's kicking off even more. They're nearly going 3 wide going through turn 1. It's yeah, that's Levy, I believe. They're battling quite hard through there. That is fantastic racing there. Albert, we saw him have the very big moment last lap coming through turn 4. We saw some very big moments from him, period. He's losing positions. He is driving his heart out, trying to just keep his top 5 position. This is a very heated battle so far.
It's not over just yet. With 6 minutes to go in the race. That should be, by my calculations, as we're running around 1 minute 19 lap times, that should be about 4 or 5 laps, give or take. There is a change of position as Albert goes down the inside of Mesha Lam, is able to get 4th position back, and immediately we see the slipstream being employed. That's helping our race leader in the MX-5s, Shirkov, who looks to open up that inside line alongside the Toyota just ahead of him, and that is fantastic. It's an MX-5 looking to go for the position, as now we've got fantastic multi-class side-by-side 2-lane stuff. It's going to be 3 wide as to the lead of the race goes Marek, and to the lead of the race goes Reem Gross, but back to the lead of the race goes Daniel Lerman around the outside in your Toyotas, and this is incredible stuff. We've got Shirkov still leading the race just about in our MX-5 classification. Albert is on the inside line. Marek is on the outside line. He's trying to get that better momentum. Will get that better momentum and just about gets ahead, but it's still side by side between the two Mazdas. Shirkov slightly ahead of Marek as they go down into the processional roval section of this racetrack. And Ron, this has definitely been a crazy race.
Yeah, this has been fantastic racing so far. We've seen some beautiful action, which really symbolizes how this series is. It's always really hard in the third moments. You're seeing some fantastic racing. You're seeing drivers race as hard as they can. These two drivers that you see on screen now, Meshlem and Albert, they're battling for P5 and P6, but they are still racing tooth and nail trying to take the position from each other. It looks like at the moment, I say, you can never be too sure. I was going to say that Meshlem looks like he's in a very comfortable position in P5, but with how powerful the slipstream is and with how absurd the racing is in this series, who knows? Albert is getting a run. It looks like he is closing in very slowly. He's speeding up. It's definitely gonna be close between these drivers. It's very close to the lead now between Gross and Lerman. These two are battling, and it looks like Lerman takes the lead. These drivers are very close. These drivers are very close as well. Albert and Meshlem going side by side. Albert, it looks like he might want to try and replicate the move that they did. He backs out of it and is trying to go for the crossover there. Meshlem went a little bit wide. There we see some contact that looked like from the Mazdas behind them. It was a very smart and very calculated move there from Albert after Meshlem made the mistake going through turn 1. And if you look at the Mazdas here, that is the battle for the Mazda victory between Shirkov and Marek there. These two have been battling quite hard, and now that the two Toyotas ahead of them are kind of pulling away, the slipstream does still play a bit of an effect on these two drivers in the Mazdas, but it's definitely not as big of an effect as we saw. As we see more action in the Mazdas, this is a battle for P3 and P4 between Boyachuk and, I believe that's Boyachuk and Zubarev there. These two drivers are very close. This is... In the Mazdas, we know how fantastic Mazda racing is on the iRacing platform. Ooh, that was very close. It looked like Boyachuk was going to look for a move there. Now it looks like Meshlem is going to get carved up by the two Mazdas. They're going 3 wide, going into the oval turn 3 on this layout. It's turn 11. So these drivers are very close. Ooh, that is extremely close there. That's contact, and they're going to crash. Oh, they managed to keep it in a straight line. That is unbelievable. Making contact at that speed, they managed to get through there without hitting the wall. That is unbelievable.
But Shirkov still has lost the lead of the MX-5 race. Meshulam is now going to create a sandwich in between himself and the two MX-5s of Marek and Shirkov. So that potentially is all she wrote in that. There is the 22 of Yaron getting to the inside of, I think that is Boychuk, Valentin Boychuk. It is the 707. So he goes through nice and safely. So nothing really complaining there. Yaron and Simon are out of the race at the moment. Neither of those guys have re-emerged for the time being. We're seeing a battle going on actually between Yaron now and Zubarev as he's further trying to use the little bit of extra pace that Toyota perhaps evidently has got a little bit of extra pace on the number 30 car. He'll now look to sweep around the outside, but no doing. Oh, there you go. He goes through, and I think leapt through slightly. That will allow Valentine to go for a little bit of a move. Here he goes around the outside. Will the slipstream work for the 30? He's got to get to the inside line as soon as possible. I think Boychuk, who's not quite able to do so for the time being, so still they drag all the way up to the line. We're going to go into what should be the white flag, if not this time by, certainly next time by, into the last minute of the race, and finally the 707 has to drop to that inside line. Lerman at the top of the table at the moment, then Ron, and I don't think he took the white flag this time by, but I think he'll take the white flag next time by. Have you seen anything?
That is a very good question. I believe, let me check our live timing screens. I do not believe we are on the last lap, so we still got 2 laps to go in this race. It's going to be a very heated battle if we haven't seen the gloves taken off for these drivers trying to battle for every position. We're definitely going to see it in the closing stages of this race, and that's... There was a car off there. I believe that was your second place, well, I believe he was the third place runner in MX-5. That was Zubarev that went off there. Just... something you'll see often with this race I haven't mentioned so far is the inside curbs. Well, you can't really call them curbs. It's really just a mound of gravel that these drivers hit. It's either you hit a mound of gravel there. This should be the white flag this time by. Thank you, Lee.
This might be checkered. Time's run out. So is it going to be a run to the
very
line?
close.
Let's see. It will be checkered.
Pass in the grass.
Ross, who goes to the line and he wins. He wins it.
Pass in the grass worked. Reem Gross. We might see another pass in the grass there. Alan Day pulled off a very bold block there on the 4th place runner of Levy. That was a very close. That was a very close battle for the win and a very close battle for the final podium spot in the top class. It's very close battles all around. You gotta love the very long straight line blast that these drivers have to go through before they hit the finish. Is going to be another. It may not be the closest finish in the world, but that was definitely a very close finish that we saw for the overall win. Gross pulls off the pass in the grass, just like Dale Earnhardt did many, many years ago at the World 600 in NASCAR. We might see another pass in the grass here. These drivers are very close, side by side. Oh, that was extremely close between those drivers.
And I have to say as well, 21 minutes eventually the end of that race. We'll go to Heat 2 in a moment. Those drivers weren't as close as last week. We can say that much. Rod, we've got some results for us in a second. We're just trying to pull them up. And in fact, I think we're going to, because we'll be immediately off to the second one, I think we're going to actually get the starting grid for this. Okay, here are your Heat 1 results. Then Reem Gross wins from Daniel Lerman, Alon Day, Arnon Levy, and Arthur Elbert ran out the top 5. Then it's Joe Marek winning in your MX-5s. Amir Meshulam and Dmitry Shirkov 6th, 7th and 8th. Of course, Marek winning in the MX-5s. Then it's Taos Stern and Nadav Yaron rounding out the top 10.
Looking through the rest of the field, we have Boychuk in 11th. We have Zubarev in 12th. He had that unfortunate mistake in Heat 1. Hopefully we'll look for redemption here in Heat 2. We have Last in 13th, Schur in 14th, Mazuz in 15th, Gabay in 16th, Connor in P17, and Yarmakov in 18th. Those are your results, and then we have the final drivers who really didn't have a chance, who crashed early on. We're going to get the 5 lights out. It's a very short run to turn 1. The 5 lights are going to be out, and the field is going to be on their way. Heat 2 here in the iRacing Israel League. 3 even keel start. Well, I say even keel start. Looked like Michelin, I believe that was. Dropped back quite a lot there. Had a pretty rough start there. It's difficult to get these cars started on the high banks here at this track, even though it's basically flat going through the tri-oval. That is definitely... that has some ballsy overtakes there going through turn 2. Drivers already going 3 wide, and we haven't even gone through like the 5th corner.
And it was a fantastic start from Dmitry Shurkov, who is on the reverse grid pole position. It's mixed up the field a little bit. We've got Toyotas now trying to get through. There is Draw Last being overtaken by one of our Toyotas in Gabay for 10th position in class, that is. Elbert is trying to make up some moves. This is on some MX-5s, and this is, again, a little bit of 3 wide action almost, as this is between Elbert, Lerman and Gross. So it was a similar story to how that race 1 ended is to how this race 2 is going to start. It's a pass for the overall lead of the race. Alan Day is getting involved as well, but it's Meshu Lam who's going to look to take it. He's not got a great deal more straight line speed than the MX-5. They are in different classes though, so I suspect this won't be fought as hard as here goes Alan Day
onto the
down
apron.
the inside to try and get the lead of the race, and he's pulled a fast one over Meshu Lam for the lead of the race. And that is race alertness, Ron. That genuinely, you only
that was
get
a bit of
by
smoking
actually
mirrors
doing it.
there.
It's
That was a bit of smoking mirrors there between Day, Mechalem, and yeah, that was Mechalem and Shurkov there were battling, and just Day was like, hey, if these two are battling, they're going to be slowing each other up, they're not going to have a draft off of either of each other. They're going to be slowing each other down on the fastest part of this track, and really the most important part of this track, the run coming to the start-finish straight, and Alan Day went for the move, took a hard left-hand turn, going onto the apron, going through oval turn 4 and going to that start-finish line, and manages to take the lead here in Heat 2.
Oh dear, and Daniel Lerman spins.
That is a big incident. You can see the wheel there off, sticking through the fender. That was a very massive accident. That will be Lerman's day done for the most part. He finished up at the front last race, was very close to winning it all. And unfortunately for him, that will not be the case in Heat 2, as he will go back to the pits most likely. Actually, I believe he might actually be trying to drive it back to the pits. God bless him. Unfortunately for him, that will probably be day done. Ooh, these drivers are battling very close there. 3 wide, nearly 4 wide. Ooh, that was very close to contact. I believe that was contact there. Between those drivers, we got a 4-pack of Mazdas just scrapping for position here, and we're not even on lap 3.
And it might just end badly. I think we've got a car off on the left-hand side. Haven't seen him re-emerge. There he is. And around the outside goes the 999 into the wall, and it does end badly. It doesn't end badly when we anticipated it to, and he hasn't held the brakes either. That is not advised. Almost came across the track and collected someone. Battle for the lead in the MX-5s then, as Dmitry Shurkov and Marek. We're going to get a replay as to what's happened to Daniel Lerman. Here he is, as he is on the outside line, goes to the inside. This might be a little bit before the incident, actually. He's off onto the grass, and oh dear, that's just a nasty hit. It's a glancing blow to the wall on the right-hand side, but it's a blow that is enough to just sort of affect that car quite dramatically. Here goes Dmitry Shurkov then. Well, he's being overtaken at the moment by Marek around the outside. Marek goes, and he's not quite able to find the speed to make that move stick for the time being. He might have another stab at it as we go down further on the run into turn 1. Gross is there as well, trying to make the move and get himself back up into the battle with the big boys in his class for the lead of the race, but Shurkov holds on to it at the moment, Ron.
Yeah, these drivers are battling really close. I mean, it's deja vu from Heat 1 with the Mazda battle between Shurkov and Marek there. These drivers, I mean, you always see the same contenders up at the front. We see Alan Day up at the front. I mean, if he didn't start last in Heat 1, he definitely would have been a contender for that very heated battle that we saw for the overall win with the Toyotas in Pro Class. But still fantastic finish, still fantastic racing that we're seeing now. Gross is kind of he's a bit of a wedge here in this battle for the win. In Mazda is very close there to touching the grass and nearly having the same outcome that we saw for Lerman on lap 1 when he hit the fence that's basically made out of the matter of white dwarf stars, and we see Zubarev went off. has a massive hit on, I believe that might have been the fence. Definitely made contact with something there, and that will be his race done. A bit more chaos as we see a battle here up at the front between Meshalem and Day. Meshalem, it looks like maybe he'll try and outbrake Day going into turn 1. We saw that fantastic move that Day pulled off in Heat 1, going round the outside of 2 drivers in turn 1. So outbraking Day is not going to be a very easy fit for Zubrev there. I'm sorry, not Zubrev. That's Meshalem there. I'm getting all my drivers confused. This racing is so fantastic. I have my jaw on my floor just like last week, and I'm really speechless at this point, Tom.
Marek has got the lead off of Shurkov. That is in the MX5 classification. Meshalem and Day still continuing to battle on as we go through the Roval section of this racetrack. It's 1.2 seconds the gap for the pro lead, and well, I would hate to see what these two guys can do if they were in one of the Toyotas. They're definitely making a case for their promotion for the next season. Zubrev, I think, so Simon is officially out. Zubrev is in the pit lane. Whether he's going to try and do a repair and get that car back out onto the circuit, I'm not too sure, but I think there is going to be a battle between Reemgross and Shurkov. It's always an interesting battle when you're not in it for the same class. You're in different cars, but Gross would really, really desperately like to get through here because it will give him a chance into the second leg of this race to try and get himself another race win. Here he goes around the outside, tries to get the better top speed in that Toyota, and I think Shurkov isn't too bothered with really battling that one out, as again, they're not really in the same race here, and they need to not treat it as such. These two are in the same race though. Nadav, Yaron and Levy, and Yaron goes around the outside and into 8th position. I think gets his nose in front, and we've seen that outside line being so powerful into turn 1 throughout the course of the day, and it proves to be just as powerful here. Yaron, though, not quite able to Day ahead, still side by side, banging wheels as they go down into the braking zone for turn 4, and he just gets ahead.
That was, I guess that would be what in America we call a slide job. That was borderline cut off there from Yaron there. He chopped across the nose of Levi there coming out of turn 3, but that was still a very textbook move there. Manages to get the position here in the Toyota battle, but might not be done yet. It looks like Levy is trying to look for some kind of way to get around Yaron. But obviously they're racing for position, of course. Why wouldn't you just want a battle? You don't want to stay behind another driver. We saw how that prediction that I made in Heat 1 went. So as we look at Alan Day, this is going to be a very dicey battle here between Day. Meshalem is going to look for the inside. It's going to be a lot better than the move he tried to pull off a couple laps ago. He's going to have, it looked like he had a nose ahead a little bit there before they hit the brakes going into turn 1, but Meshalem backs out of it. Alan Day stays ahead.
He goes on Levy back down the inside in the 39 car, and he, I believe, is going to try and, well, in fact, should be able to get that position back. It's all a battle of who's braver on the brakes, and Arnon Levy is braver on the brakes at the moment. He needs to be careful of that wall on the right-hand side, which is ever so close to touching, but he's okay for the time being. There's an MX-5 slow on the right-hand side, slowing, I think, for lapping. That would be Zubrev, who has fallen a lap down of the field. Gross, by the way, is 2.4 seconds behind at 2 at the front. He's managed to get past Marek as well. So in a couple of laps' time, as we head into roughly half distance of this race, I could very much see him being able to make something work here. As we can see his lap time advantage, he seems to be just that little bit faster than our two guys at the front. And as they battle Ron Mullins, they should lose a bit of time to him.
I mean, we've still got so much left to play for in this race. We're not even halfway through this race, so I could definitely see Gross getting involved in that top 2 battle and turn into a top 3 battle. That could definitely be on the cards. Those two are really battling hard right now. They are very close, as you can see on the other left side of your screen now. They are very close, less than a quarter of a second between them, bordering on under 0.2 of a second there briefly, as we're seeing the battle right now in the other Toyotas between Levy and Yaron. We saw these two battling a couple of laps ago, and they are continuing to battle here. And Levy gets a move done, but it looks like Yaron, sorry, I was said Yaron got past, and Levy, it looked like he was going to try and go for the cutback move coming out of turn 1, but he stays behind those two, it's Yaron and Levy. And looking up at the front of the field now, we have following Shurkov there running in second position in the Mazdas. I believe that's 6th overall in this field. Right now he's getting challenged a little bit by Connor in the Toyota. Elbert might be in a bit of trouble here right now. He's currently behind, between the two Mazdas, acting as a bit of a wedge at the moment. And if Connor has the pace and if he can catch Elbert, Elbert could be in a little bit of trouble here.
As here goes Elbert around the outside to Dmitry Shurkov. And he's not quite able to make the move, but we have got a battle for the lead of the race. Alan Day has held on to that lead of the race the last 6 minutes or so after a very difficult qualifying session for him, not setting a competitive lap time, not setting a lap time at all, in fact. But now he is in the lead of this race. However, under pressure from Meshalam in second. Mazus and Yarmakrov are into the pit. Both of those drivers, we believe, out of the race at the moment, unless they're able to re-emerge and just want to try and finish for a bit of pride. This is Yovel Marek, the leader of the MX-5 classification. He's got a very nice 2.9 second advantage ahead of his next rival. In fact, it's a little bit more than that, because there's a couple of cars in between them. These are those two cars. It's Kana who crashed out so dramatically of that previous race, now trying to get himself up into a top 4 spot. It is Elbert that he is trying to attack in the 47, and it's Elbert that he might just have a very good chance at getting past. Here he goes down into turn 13, and then they'll go down into turn 1. He's going to go very low indeed, and he's going to surely get his nose ahead by the time they get into that braking zone for turn 1. He's already got his entire car ahead, and I think that was Elbert just playing a little bit of a game as he tries to duck into the slipstream to give himself another run as they go down into turn 1 onto that favourable outside line given the nature of the corner. But Kana is able to hold on to the position very nicely indeed. That is a masterclass in overtaking around the Roval.
And that was a very interesting battle. This is a very interesting battle here. I was looking at the live timing screen. I was seeing Gross close in very slowly. He was about 2.5 seconds off of this battle, and now he's going side by side with Meshlem, going for a very bold move on the inside, going through turn 5. And then finally gets a move done going through turn 6, but he might be a bit of a sitting duck going down the rest of the straightaway as these two are battling. Alan Day is pulling away. Right now, he is nearly a second ahead of these two drivers, but right now, if Gross and Meshlem just really decide, like, hey, let's just stay in line, let's try and draft each other, and let's push ourselves to the front, Alan Day could be under a lot of pressure towards the end of this race. But right now, Gross gets the move done on Meshlem, takes P2. This is going to be a brilliant battle. Overall podium here in this race. That's definitely going to be the one to watch. This is the one that we're watching right now. This is an interclass battle right now between Cherikov, the second place runner in the Mazdas, and Tal Stern, who is currently running in 5th in the Toyotas. Stern gets a little bit ahead going through the final corner on the oval, which is actually turn 12, I believe, here on the Roval layout. He gets the move done. Very textbook overtake from him there. Right now, we're riding on board with Gross. These drivers are going to be very close. Gross, he might have a run. He might try and go for the move on Day that he went for with Meshlem last lap going down the inside of turn 5. He is not close enough. Maybe in a couple laps time, though, depending on what happens on the massive high banks here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, he might try and go for that move. That was a very bold move, but worked out when Gross tried to go for the second place position on Meshlem. And right now, Gross has a pretty good run coming out of the infield section, and he's going to have a lot of speed going through the high banks here at Charlotte. He is closing up very slowly on Day. You can see it just ticking by the hundredths, the thousandths, the tenths soon enough are ticking by with this gap, and there's Meshlem going side by side with Gross. These drivers are going to be very close. If these drivers close up even more, it could be three wide action here for the podium positions going through just halfway through this race, well, really 3/4 of the way through this race now. Meshlem, he is going to be on the outside. He carries a lot of speed through there and gets the move done on Gross. These drivers are very close. You could basically put a blanket over these drivers. It is some very hair-raising stuff and very fantastic racing right now.
And it should be mentioned as well that we have got a few sponsor reads to get through, and I wanted to mention Apex Racing Academy, where you can get 29 data packs, setups, track guides, integration with Virtual Racing School, and weekly group coaching sessions, part of our Apex Racing family. Of course, Apex Racing TV being a part of that. But back to the action, you can see that Stern has got through on Shirkov and now is trying to attack Elbert. This is for 4th position, but he's not quite able to get past just yet. I'm still keeping an eye on that gap between Day and Meshulam, because it's coming down in droves, actually, to the point that I think they're going to go side by side here, down into turn 1, and they are. Is this finally the move for the lead of the race that Alan Day has fought so hard for and held on to so well? It's going to be 2-lane action, I think, as Gross tries to get involved as well. Day is narrowly in the lead of the race, 300ths of a second in it as they go down into turn 1 with 4 minutes to go in this second race, the second heat race of the Israel Racing League round 2. And it's Alan Day who gets on the brakes just that little bit earlier. Reem Gross trying to invite himself around the outside. He's going to have a little bit of a look here on Meshulam, I think, who doesn't give him the space. To be fair,
Traded paint there.
He couldn't really see him coming, and I don't think I saw contact, Ron, but I'll take your word for it.
I think that was very close. There was just pixels separating these drivers here in this race. This is some very heated stuff. We don't have a lot of time left in this race, so these drivers are going to be getting their elbows out and battling. While you're talking there's actually a incident there when you shouted out Apex Racing Academy. If you used Apex Racing Academy, Marek probably wouldn't have made the mistake that cost him the lead, I believe, in the Mazda category, so very tough break for him. That happened in the infield, but right now these drivers are very close. Marek is going to look for a move around the outside. I'm hearing some kind of strange noises outside, so I'm not sure what's going on. I might be under danger here. Certainly, Shirokov here is under danger of losing a position here. These drivers are going side by side. Marek lost it. He nearly lost it about 5 times when he went off a couple laps ago. Right now, Tal Stern running in the 5th position overall, 5th position in the Toyotas. He's a bit of a pick right now in this battle here for 1st and 2nd between the 2 Mazda drivers. That is very close, and we're going back to the battle of the lead here. Meshulam, he's going to look for around the outside move going through turn 2. Day blocks it a little bit, but Gross comes through. He's going to try and go around the outside of Meshulam going through turn 3. That is very close between those 2 drivers. Not a lot of room to work with there, because if you just go off slightly, you touch the grass, and you are done for, son. So, Sherikov, it looks like he holds on to the lead in the Mazdas. This is some very fantastic racing we see, and it looks like Marek he looked like he was going to try and go for the move down the inside of turn 5 there. This is a very heated battle right now. We have heated battles all over the place. These 2 drivers battling ahead. That's Elbert and Stern and the other 2 Toyotas battling ahead. That is slowing Sherikov down, and that is basically he's basically a sitting duck from the looks of it from Marikov's point of view. Marikov is going to look. He is going to look for the move around the outside. He looked for the move last time. He is a little bit closer this time, and with those 2 cars battling ahead, it looks like this is going to be a very heated battle for the win in the amateur class here with the Mazdas. Right now you see the other battle right now there with the other 2 Toyotas as well. Yeah, side by side. This is some fantastic stuff here. Meshulam, he looks for the move again, but is unable to pull it off. He goes very wide, so he ends up losing another position. Very close to hitting the wall there. That was very close for Meshulam. That could have been total disaster. It looks like he was going to try and go for the lead. Then he dropped back to 3rd, and it looked like he would have dropped out of the race altogether. These 2 drivers are going side by side, though. There's a 5-car battle from the looks of it here. We got Elbert and Stern ahead. Then we got 3... we got 3 more drivers. We've got the other 2 Mazdas battling of Sherikov and Marek, and then we have Boyachuk. Actually, no, that's a lapped car, I believe. The Toyota that's sitting behind them. I'm losing my voice here. This is some fantastic stuff here.
Here we go then. This is it for the lead of the race. The final lap of the race, it should be. We've ticked over Almost 15 seconds left in the race. It's going to be a tight one, and Alon Day has got 4/10 of a second as down to the inside, down to the apron goes Meshulam, trying to get that second spot back. Are we going to tick over? 4 seconds to go. Is it going to be checkered flag for Alon Day? We hit the 20-minute mark, and I don't think it is. Are we going to go to the white flag?
Look at
We've got to wait
Meshulam!
to see as Meshulam is all over the apron. Here we go then. This should be the final lap. The checkered flag is coming up, and it's Alon Day against Gross for the lead of the race on the final lap. Day is hugging the inside line. Gross can't quite get it. It's 7/100ths of a second in between the two of them. And Alon Day just about gets a win after a terrible qualifying. Everyone else streaks over the line. 1/10 of a second in the MX-5s. Shirkov can't quite get ahead at the line, and it's basically grinding to a halt because everyone is so tired after a race on a track that has delivered such incredible stuff. Kana here in the Toyota interclass battle trying to get past Yaron. I think that is, no, it's Cher is trying to get past. It's incredible. You can barely see what's going on here. Here he goes, Yaron trying to get to the outside of the 482 car. Won't really matter if he makes the pass or not, but I'm sure he'll want to just for basically pure ego reasons. Here he goes as they're bumping wheels all the way up to the line. It could end very nastily. It won't end nastily. It ends in a nice little 3-wide Le Mans style photo finish. And isn't that very nice indeed? That is fantastic stuff between the three of them. Fantastic stuff between the field. I have to say, Ron, I wasn't aware too much of the Roval before this one, but I think I'm a convert.
That is some fantastic racing, even though this exact Roval layout doesn't exist anymore. Obviously, in 2018, a lot of changes were made to this track. It revitalized the infield quite a lot, but the Roval layout, it's a really mixed layout. Obviously, you have the massive high banks, and you have the small, little, tight, twisty infield section that some have compared to a street course. It leads to some fantastic racing, and with this series and the absolute fantastic racing this series puts on, it leads to some fantastic racing, as we saw in those two heats.
Alon Day wins then after qualifying in 20th position in our first race. A little bit of help from the reverse grid, but regardless, he's got to the win. Reem Gross is in second by 7/100ths of a second, this time on the wrong side of a photo finish with Amir Meshulam in third. Arthur Elbert is fourth. It is Marek who wins in your MX-5 classification with Dmitry Shurkov in second. Tal Stern is seventh for our Toyotas with Valentin Boychuk in ninth. Ninth and 10th then for our Toyotas is Arnon Levy and Daniel Lerman.
And looking through the rest of the field, outside the top 10, we have Aiden Shern in 11th. We have Asif Yaron in 12th. We have Sharon Connor. He was involved in I believe he was involved in some kind of incident. He was up at the front of the other Toyota field early on, so not sure what happened to him there. Then we have Dior Last in 14th. We have Yossi Gabay in 15th. Nadav Yaron in 16th. Mark Zubarev, Mazuz, Yarmakov and Simon were all involved in some kind of incident, so they fell off throughout this race. Very tough break for them. Of course, with the tight nature of this track and the tight nature of this series altogether, with how these drivers are so close pace-wise, you do see some elbows out racing, and you do see some incidents occasionally, but very clean and very respectful racing with these drivers. So not a lot of DNFs, but certainly a lot of action in that race.
It's fantastic stuff, and the drivers in this league, I have to say, not as talkative as other leagues we've been in, but if we do catch anyone for an interview, we will grab them as we can. But fantastic stuff. I mean, I can't remember the last time I saw multiple photo finishes for the lead. But not only the lead, but for the positions as well. Apart from obviously last week, it's maybe becoming a trend.
I'm absolutely flabbergasted. The virtual photo finish crew, I'm not sure if that's an actual thing, but it is in my mind, and they're going to be running out of camera space with how many photo finishes you see. I mean, throughout the field, up at the front for the overall win, up at the front the Mazdas, and just even like a battle for like 14th overall, you'll see these drivers very close, basically neck and neck coming to the finish line. That was a fantastic finish that we saw. I really thought that Meshulam was going to get there. I saw he went for the he went very close to the inside of the other apron there, and I thought he was going to get the move done, but unfortunately that was not the case. But I do believe we have some interviews here.
Yeah, good evening, fellas.
we do. Arthur Elbert joins us, and Arthur, welcome along to the commentary box. Thank you very much for joining us. It seemed to be a fantastic race today, crazy race. You got yourself involved in all sorts of battling and things. It looked like it was really, really fun out there.
Yeah, it was great fun, guys. It was really, really intimidating, trying to catch up and trying to run away from the other guys. In some little bit incidents, but well, okay, just elbow bumping, you know. Really good drivers, really good racing. Loved it.
So safe to say, you'd like to come back to the Roval?
The what? Sorry.
The Roval, this track. It's that's what it's called in America.
Oh,
sorry.
It's actually my first time at this track. I've been practicing,
my first
but I've never driven this track before. It's great fun. Actually, with this car, it's really nimble and it gets, you know, great excitement. Yeah, sure, be back.
Yes. Well, anyway, in terms of the rest of the season, you've shown some promising pace today. Is this a sign of maybe greater things to come?
Well, I sure do hope so.
Thank you very much for joining us, Arthur. We'll speak to you soon.
Thank you so much.
That was Arthur Elberts in the commentary box. Ron, I'll ask you quickly for your closing thoughts after a crazy race.
Look, I'll be honest. In 18 years being on this planet, there's very few times where I've been genuinely speechless. This series has made me speechless pretty much, well, all the time throughout tonight, and all the time throughout last week as well. We see some absolutely amazing racing, hard in the throat racing, really just fantastic stuff all around. Series is absolutely amazing, regardless of what series, regardless of what track we run on, what kind of track period. I mean, we saw fantastic racing at Road America, a purpose-built road course. We saw some fantastic racing here at the Charlotte Roval, which is a half-oval road course, as you can tell from the name. We have another Roval coming up, as the next race in this season will be on, at least for me, that will be on July the 17th. That will be at the Phoenix, the Legacy Phoenix road course here on iRacing, so that'll be an interesting race. I kind of have a hot-and-cold relationship with that track, to be brutally honest with you, but I think with the way this series is, that'll lead to some fantastic racing in 2 weeks' time.
Absolutely, and well, thank you everyone for watching here on Apex Racing TV. Do make sure to go and check out our various products and companies that we run here in the Apex Racing family, all in the description. And of course, check out the league themselves, Israel Racing League over on their Israel iRacing League, I should say, on their various social media platforms and YouTube channel as well. But for now, we thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Good night for now.